In general, it is possible to have screen variations of color on a computer screen taking the following values. At the very low end, you will see 256 variations. Thereafter, the variations are said in number of bits: 16-bit variation of colors, 24-bit variation of colors, and 32-bit variation of colors. Now let us briefly and quickly examine or see the resolution and the color settings of the screen on which you are seeing this demonstration. Open the properties of the screen. Look at the settings. As you could see, the screen resolution of the computer screen is 640 by 480 pixels. Of course, we can have different variations. For example, we can set that to 800 by 600 pixels. The higher the resolution, the more the storage space that is required, or the bandwidth that is required to transmit the screen image. We will set it back to 640 by 480. At the same time, you could also change the quality of the color. Right now it is 32 bits, and it could be changed to 16 bits as well. The higher the number of bits, the better the color representations. In other words, we can represent very many different colors at a higher bit setting. By adjusting the resolution and the color depth, we can adjust or we can change the storage requirement or the bandwidth requirement for storing or sending an image. This information is important when one is involved in transmitting images or one is involved in the transmission of video or video conferencing. Now let us quickly compute the storage requirement of one image for the screen resolution and color depth that we saw a while ago. In this case, the screen resolution is 640 by 480, so we multiply 640 by 480. The color variation was based on 32-bit, so each pixel contains information that is spread along 32 bits. So we need to multiply 640 by 480 by 32. As we can see, if this image was stored in black and white, we only need one digit to store the information, in which case the storage requirement or the bandwidth requirement would be 640 by 480 multiplied by 1. By increasing the number of variations, color variations, the image storage requirement has been increased 32 times. It is not always necessary to set the image color variation as 32-bit because of the fact that the human eye cannot distinguish or detect the difference between verified variations of the color. Now let us look at some of the implications of the storage requirement of images. Because images require a lot of storage, the screen images for example, generally speaking, the video card is a critical component of the computer in terms of displaying and managing screen images. When computers are used for gaming, the screen images change rapidly and vivid colors are necessary. For this reason, one may need a video card that is very powerful. The power of the video card in general will depend on the processor that is used in the card. It will also depend on the memory that is used within the card because of the fact that there is a large storage space requirement for images, most video cards come with built-in memory so that some local processing can take place at the video card, thereby releasing the memory of the computer and the processing power of the computer. It is common nowadays to have 128 megabytes of memory on the video card. Video cards also have their own processors because of the intensive processing of images done by the video card. It is also important for the video card to interact with the main processor. For this reason, this interface or the bus that connects the video card to the processor must also operate at very high speed. In general, when you take a computer, you will look at peripheral devices that are installed in the expansion slot of the computer. These expansion slots are usually known as the PCI slots. Nowadays, when you buy a computer, the graphics card is not usually installed in the PCI slot because of the fact the graphics or the screen display being an intensive process. It is installed in a separate slot known as the AGP slot. Compared to the PCI slots, the AGP slots are much faster. They operate at a much faster speed than the PCI slot. Therefore, whenever one buys a computer or whenever one builds a computer, it is important to buy a video card that fits into the AGP slot. Again, in AGP there are different speeds. Some are known as 2x, others are known as 4x, and others are known as 8x. These are 2 times, 4 times, 8 times the speed of the other I/O bus. Another implication of the high storage requirement or the high bandwidth requirement is in the transmission of images over the internet. Images are never transmitted over the internet in raw form. What is a raw form? Consider this image with 16 color variations and a screen resolution of 640 by 480. The raw image requires, in this case, 640 by 480 by, let's say that there are 16 color variations, so many bits to be stored and transmitted. The image captured in this form is usually stored in a file format known as .bmp. .bmp stands for bitmapped storage of images. The bitmapped images or the BMP files represent the raw files or the images captured in raw files. They obviously have the most details about the images, and at the same time they also require a high storage to contain the image. When transmitting these images over the internet, the image is compressed and transmitted during a different image file format. The popular image file formats are .jpg for JPEG, .gif. These two are the popular image formats that are used on the internet. Images captured in BMP can be converted into these formats using an image conversion program. Most image editing programs will allow the conversion of .bmp formats into JPEG or GIF formats. Some of the image capturing software will straight away store the image in these formats so that the storage space requirements are minimized. Now let us look at the process of compressing the images. We will study the compression of images in one of the following modules.